This is a laptop with Windows 11. Now, if you've never used Windows 11 before, God! But if you have, you may remember that one of the first complaints with the operating system was similar to this dramatic interpretation. God damn it! What the is up with this taskbar?
Don't worry, this criticism is absolutely valid, because the taskbar is a staple to the Windows GUI. Ever since its official inception in Windows 95, the taskbar has seen its changes over the years. Some good and nostalgic, and some that were completely mutilated beyond recognition. But Windows 11's taskbar stands out as the one that received the most changes based on public documentation. And although you can point out the obvious of how everything is aligned in the center by default, or how certain AI bloatware is getting shoved into the taskbar by default, there may be one other aspect that some people have completely overlooked. And it's the sizing. Which has got me to ask this one question. Is the Windows taskbar actually getting bigger? So, for this experiment, I gathered myself every Windows computer I can get my gripping mitts on from Windows Vista to Windows 11 and had them connect to this Dell monitor with a 1920 by 1080 resolution. I will then make the taskbar appear on this monitor with 100% scaling and mark the size of the taskbar using a sticky note and pen. Now, I could use the Windows XP computer that's in my dorm, but upon later analysis I realized that the hardware does not support Full HD displays, so we will not be using that computer in the experiment. First up to bat is the Dell Studio 1555, built in 2008 and running Windows Vista. Once I've located its charger in my totally organized cable drawer and plugged it into my totally not organized power strip, I powered it on and I was greeted with this.
Hold on. What day is it? What time is it right now?
Yeah, so this computer has an issue where the clock resets to its manufacturing date when disconnected to power for too long. No big deal, I just need to adjust to the current time and date of recording and... After fiddling with the settings and getting the main screen to show up on the Full HD display, it's time to make our mark. And once I've done that, I can finally shut down the computer.
Crap, that's not what I wanted. I didn't mean to hibernate it. God damn it.
Next up is the HP Pavilion DV6 notebook, built in 2011 and running Windows 7. And after a quick change of chargers, we are greeted with this.
Okay.
If you couldn't tell already, this computer is one that I still use time in and time out ever since I found it in my home in 2022. And after getting the displays to not mirror, we can finally mark the taskbar size, or sizes, because these next versions of Windows provide an option to use a smaller taskbar, which is arguably about the same size as the Windows Vista taskbar.
About the same spot. Measure twice, draw once. Yeah. Can't believe that small makes a big difference.
So, after getting yet another nostalgia hit, it's time to unveil the next participant, the Toshiba Satellite from 2012 running Windows 8.1. And if you don't remember, this is the laptop that I downgraded from Windows 10 about 2 years ago. And while this version of Windows is the latest to have its support ended, it certainly won't be the last. Fortunately, I don't need to have the hassle of setting the main display to the Full HD monitor, since Windows 8 was the first of its kind to have taskbars appear on every display. So all I need to do is set up the secondary taskbar and we can make our marks. Wait a minute, I've always wondered. Huh, interesting. So it looks small, but it's also pretty mid. I don't know, I'm just used to having everything on the bottom. Alright, once again going small and then working our way. You know, the screen itself has gotten very consistent. It's like, I don't know what to say. I mean, you can see that there's like a consistency actually happening with 7, 8, and Vista. Like even that you can see, you know, how familiar it is. It's just very familiar. Interesting. No marking this time. Up next is my main computer from 2016 to 2021 and from 2023 to 2025. The Dell Inspiron 5559, built in 2016 and running the latest version of Windows 10. Now, because this computer is approaching 8 years old and the battery can stop working on this thing at any moment, I have to work quickly. Alright. Be ready to think fast in 3, 2, 1. Think fast. Not fast enough. Alright, where's the HDMI? Well, I'll put my HDMI cable here. Alright, time for small and little. This is actually the first time I'm seeing Windows 10 on the little screen. It's pretty weird. It's something I'm not really used to seeing. Where's my pen? Shit, where did I put my pen? Oh, there it is. It's literally the same thing. 8 and 10. Now what happens if we turn on... Oh, it obviously closes the start menu. Seems to be not much of a difference. It just seems to be all consistent. So the Vista small, the Vista is about the same size as the small 7, the small 8, and the small 10. And the 7 taskbar size is the same as the 8 and the 10. Let's put it back in the original configuration. And now last and certainly least, we come to the Dell Inspiron 16 Plus 7620, built in 2022 and running Windows 11 22H2. To say that this computer has been the bane of my existence ever since I started using it is a massive understatement. But with all the modern tech ranting aside, let's see how Windows 11's taskbar stacks up with the rest. Oh no, I forgot about that. Oh shit. Now, unlike the last couple of Windows OSs, Windows 11 only has one size. And by God, does she have some girth. Oh yeah. Look at this chunkiness. So yeah, that's what all the taskbars look like. Now that I've marked every possible taskbar configuration, it's time to measure our lines with a measuring tape. And since the sizes of the Windows taskbars are consistent with 3 distinct sizes, I'm going to label each of them small, standard, and modern for ease of keeping track. Hope I didn't scratch this laptop. On a full HD display, the small taskbars are around 10 to 11 millimeters in height, while the standard taskbar size sits in between 13 or 14 millimeters, and the modern Windows 11 taskbar rests at around 16 millimeters. On screen is the initial table I created to store the results. I say initial because I didn't take account the pixels per inch on the Dell monitor, which kind of threw the calculations between millimeters and pixels off by a bit. To fix this, I went on the internet and found the display specifications for the specific Dell monitor and found it to be 95 pixels per inch. Then I adjusted the pixels per inch on the conversion calculator and then re-entered the calculated data. The final table is found in this screenshot. Now keep in mind that I designated the true height to be the tallest part of the taskbar. Despite the high error in height, given the massive difference between the measured height and the true height, you can see that the trend line between the measurements are somewhat consistent. And given that the average height of all these taskbars is 46.6 pixels with a standard deviation of 7.97 pixels, we can comfortably say that the taskbars in Windows Vista and Windows 11 are the outliers in this experiment. 6 millimeters sounds like a small range of variance, but for the taskbar, you can tell that the difference is significant. Ultimately, this experiment supports my claim that Microsoft has been slowly but surely making the taskbar bigger. The only question that remains is why? Why is Microsoft doing this? Well, if you try to find the answer via YouTube search, you're immediately bombarded with tutorials on how to change the taskbar size, how to modify the taskbar with hacks, how to de-bloat Windows 11 in its entirety. The list goes on. Clearly, there's people here that explain the how, just not the why. So, I had to go deeper. And in my research, I found articles published months before the release of Windows 11 back in 2021 and old videos from the Windows Insider program raving about Windows 11. According to these articles, the taskbar interface was reported to be taller than its Windows 10 counterpart by 6 pixels, and that a team of over 40 designers within Microsoft has spent years researching and developing the Windows 11 taskbar to make it more accessible for tablet, desktop, and large monitor users. From what I see, the designers may have believed that an overwhelming majority of Windows users work on larger screens, which sometimes have larger screen resolutions. But I can tell you, from the laptops I have with me, most of the older ones max out at 1366 by 768, which is very small compared to Full HD. Even the Full HD display on my Inspiron 5559 is smaller compared to a UHD display. So, is there a way to fix the taskbar being visually too big? Well, the simplest option would be to scale down the overall layout to 100% and maxing out the display resolution. This would be a perfect fix if you have a laptop or monitor that supports an extremely high resolution. But let's be practical here. Not everyone has the luxury of owning a reasonably sized 4K screen. But what if you had a touchscreen PC? Well, if that PC can turn itself into a standalone tablet, you can make the taskbar smaller by having it focused on an app, and then make it way bigger by swiping the taskbar up. It sounds like a counterproductive fix, but at least you have a smaller taskbar. But what if you don't have a tablet? What could be next? Using small icons? Well, apparently there is a way where you can do that, but that would require having to go into the registry editor, which could really fuck up your system if you're not careful. So, using my desktop with a metric fuck ton of unsupported hardware, I created a Windows 11 virtual machine, found the key in the registry editor, and with a little bit of tweaking, it doesn't fucking work. That's because Microsoft fixed this small taskbar issue in their 23H2 update.
But Tyler, how are there YouTube videos of people making the taskbar smaller in Windows 11?
It's probably because they were using either an unreliable hack or an earlier version of Windows 11. And while I don't trust hacks, I do have an ISO file for an early version of Windows 11. So, after making yet another virtual machine, I followed the same steps as before, and...
Actually, we just keep it like that. What the hell is that? Ear rape! Brother! Oh my god, I feel like I need to reduce all animations. Jesus. Alright, hold on. Now if we... Let's try this again. So, this has SI to 0, which means that this will theoretically make it shorter. So here's for good luck. It did it! Oh my god, that looks so fucking terrible! Ew! What the fuck is that? I mean, I guess it tries to make it look good, but it's just, oh, good lord. Oh. At least they keep it like that, but holy shit, man. Oh my god, it's fucking slow. It's slow as all shit.
Speaking of things running on fumes, my phone is about to die, so we might as well do this real quick. So, what difference does it make for the Windows 11 taskbar to be small? Let me see. So we're right here. So with everything that we've done, having the taskbar size be set to 0, making it small, the smaller size taskbar of Windows 11 is literally the exact same size as the taskbars of the regular size Windows 7, 8.1, and 10. Which I believe, from what I've recently seen, is about 1.4 centimeters. I mean, to be fair, it is a lot less it looks a lot less distracting. It's crazy how the difference between 2 millimeters is what it takes for the taskbar to look a lot more distracting.
Okay, so let's say I've exhausted all attempts to make the taskbar look halfway decent. Is there a way that I can possibly fix the taskbar to make it look nicer on the smaller setting? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to try doing. So over here, this is a screenshot of my Windows 11 machine on a full HD 1920 by 1080 monitor. I did use the snipping tool, which is why it's not perfect. It's not a perfect representation of it, but it does get the point across. Now, typically I have this Windows 10 taskbar over here, and it doesn't really serve as a distraction. What I'm supposed to be fixing is making it less distracting for people to look at. I mean, the purpose of having the taskbar here is to be something to glance down when you need to switch tasks and all that, or switch windows. It doesn't have to be protruding any more than it needs to be, which is why Microsoft originally created the taskbar to just be big enough to, have some depth to it, but not too big that it becomes distracting. If I were to make a smaller version of this taskbar, we would have to try to meet something that is just right in the middle, in between everything. So if I were to create a line, create a tiny line, I think that's, hold on. And if I were to go do something like this. So this is the line, so that's a line of the Windows 11 taskbar, and if we were to bring it down by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, So if we were to meet it like 1, 2, like if they really want to make it taller, I think that's as tall as I would probably make it. Because with that height, you could still be able to push stuff down to a certain degree. So that's what we'll do here. Even by knocking it by 4 pixels, the only major difference that we would have to do is just moving all these icons down like a couple pixels, and that's what I'm going to do. But I think there's a more effective way. I feel like I could do this a more effective way while keeping the overall structure of the taskbar. So let's see. This is our new taskbar. So let's see. If we were to move our little Windows thing here. So that's our little icon there. We have search. Trying my best to trace it. Best of my ability, at least I... This is why I use vector and all that. So let's see, search. So if that was our search button, if this was some other stuff like... and then if we have, and let's see, we got app 1, app 2, and then app selection. A part of me wonders if they raised it by that many pixels just to keep the selection consistent. But that doesn't make really much sense, in my opinion, because you can still chop off, you can still cut this down by 4 pixels if you really wanted to expand it, and still make it not so fucking intrusive. So let's see, we got app 1, app 2, app 3, app 4, app 5, all over here. Let's make something for the widgets here. I think if we keep that like that, and then let's see, we got maybe some stuff here. There we go, so that's our widgets. And then time, there would be, let's see, time, and then you would have, oh wait, I think the bell icon would be somewhere over here, and then space to do it, and then you got your, I think, your battery information here, some more pinned apps, and then that button. It's not one-to-one, but it kind of does the trick. And I just moved everything by a couple feet. Fuck. Alright, hold on. Forgot everything's on the same layer. That's not good. Alright, line up. There we go. Okay, so if I were to put this down, so let's see. If we were to do this, I mean, so far, the only problem I have is that it has this. Which, if you really want to have that design, you could still probably, you could actually still probably push it down and still keep the corners. Honestly, just keeping it by the edge, it actually reminds me of Arrow. So we can do that, and you can still have stuff like this. You can still have like these lines here over like that if you really want to pick stuff over here. But what I would recommend is a couple of things. So like you would instead of having it over here, we would have something like this where it kind of protrudes into the taskbar, and then when one is selected, then it kind of becomes more vibrant, or something like that. It gets a lot bigger or vibrant. And then like if you want notifications over here, you can still do something like that. I mean, you can still keep the order as well. Like widgets, you don't need to change a thing if you really want to move it. And in fact, if we move it back to Windows 10 size, I mean, granted, we might have to do like a tiny bit of squishing, but I think that it might actually look a lot cooler to have it that closed in. And you don't need to change anything about the time and all that, because even at that range, you can still put 2 layers of text over here. You can still make room for the widgets. It'll just be a little smaller, something like that. And honestly, it probably would look different. So I think this would actually be kind of reasonable for something that's small. Or hold on, let me put this in some dark blue, let me paint in dark blue just so you can see the difference. We want to make this kind of keep the look and feel as much as humanly possible. I mean, I actually wouldn't complain a lot over here. It's like if over here, like where's the select button? So like if I were to go this, that actually wouldn't be so bad. It would be literally the same color. It's literally the same size. It is quite literally the same size as the 10. And maybe if you really were that hellbent, you would want, but if they were really hellbent, you could probably move it by, what, 2 pixels? It wouldn't make much of a difference. If you just move everything, if you just kind of push everything down just like that. I honestly would fuck with this. To see something like that, click, yeah, something like click and all that. And what I would do with these icons is that when you click on them, it would expand from a little subtle bubble like this to a more prominent rectangle, and then you might maybe a little jump out as well, maybe make the icon a slightly bigger to show that this is the current application that's being focused, and then everything else stays kind of slightly the same, but make it maybe slightly bigger, like so. Like maybe something like this. just so it kind of jumps out a little bit more. But you could also keep this and keep it kind of bound to the top ends of the taskbar, and it would definitely kind of come with the same vibe as arrow and all that. And then when it gets deselected, if something were to get deselected, the little button will shrink. The icon would shrink and it would retract a little bit, and then it'll kind of go back, come to maybe something that's a little more subtle. Something like that. So whenever you click on it, click, oh, when you do on it, click, it basically, this button would expand prominently up like that, and then when it gets deselected, it basically shrinks and it kind of falls back a little bit. And even then you can still see that it's still loaded and all that.
So while this video was informative and all, a part of me does realize that Microsoft will just have people get used to the new size. I mean, this isn't the first time they made the taskbar bigger. Windows 7 introduced a bigger taskbar in its release, but also gave the option for those who wanted the smaller size to switch to it. And now that Microsoft is bound to tell Windows 10 and the older taskbars to kick the bucket later this year, the few people who do upgrade to Windows 11 might eventually get used to the increase in sizing. To me, the people who are most excited for Windows 11 is kids. And I won't be surprised if some kids in Gen Alpha see Windows 11 as revolutionary due to the taskbar changes, much like I saw Windows 8 to be revolutionary as a kid for its start menu and Metro apps.
As I said before, I made this video solely based on a hunch I had back when I started using Windows 11 last year, though I really have more complaints about the OS as a whole. Plus, doing research and critical thinking of a solution is a better use of my time and energy rather than just griping about it on the Microsoft forum. This video was never made to harass the developers of Windows 11 that are trying so hard to make the operating system more stable and palatable. This was simply made to constructively criticize the overall direction that the operating system is being taken. But the one thing I hope happens from making this video is Microsoft acknowledging that they've made a mistake with how they handled Windows 11 and just take the L, much like what they did with Windows 8 all those years ago.